of the citizens who actually pay their salaries to protect them first.
That's right, because they're no longer peacekeepers, they're law enforcement. I did a special report earlier talking about the growing phenomenon of swatting. This is where, guys playing video games will call a SWAT team on somebody else. For example, I saw, Mrs. Chumley chop off somebody's head. You need to go send a SWAT team over there. And in the particular video I referenced, the officers bust in. There's a guy sitting there, at his video game station, raises his hands, gets on the ground voluntarily, but the officers still thought it was necessary to, stomp on the guy's back. He has 3 or 4 grown men laying on him, and then he puts a boot in the back of the small of this guy's back. And in my opinion, I understand the officers want to be safe, but that's overkill.
Well, that's definitely the problem. And, when you have this type of equipment at your disposal as a police officer, and when you're trained in more a military mindset than, a civilian serve and protect, you don't start out at a level of response that's low key. You don't start out at level 1 and progress slowly until you're forced unwillingly to hit level 10. You just jump right in the gun and you'll whip out, level 8, level 9 response. And, that's how Americans, innocent Americans, their constitutional rights are getting trounced.
Mm-hmm. Referencing the situation in Ferguson, Missouri again, of course, we had the riots and the looting that preceded or happened after the shooting of Michael Brown. But then the police come out, and to respond to that, they come out with tear gas, which you can't use against the enemy combatant foreignly. They come out with rubber bullets. And people always say that not every police officer is bad, and I do agree with that, but not every protester is bad. 90+% of that crowd, probably around 98% of that crowd, was nonviolent towards the police. Yes, you had the guys who, F the police and all this stuff, but nobody was physically threatening them other than a very small group of people. But they decided to use these measures on an entire community, not just the people who were on that street of West Florissant, but everybody who lived in that whole neighborhood. They shot, Mrs. Shumley, I was there, tear gas for a mile stretch of this road. We were out there the next day filming reports, and when the wind would blow, you could still smell the tear gas. It would burn your eyes. And this affected everybody who lived in that community, not just the people who were there at the protest.
That's exactly right. And I wasn't there, but I saw the videos, and I did speak with a woman from St. Louis just recently. And I asked her, what came first? Was it the protesters and the thugs looting, or was it the police going into overkill? Because the reports aren't clear on that. And she was clear. She said the protesters were in an area, they were peaceful, they were doing their First Amendment rights and so forth peacefully. And then the police came out and cordoned them off in a little protest zone. And once that happened, that kind of escalated some of the protesters who wondered, why do they have to stay in this special zone created for protesting? That's a good point. And from there, it escalated. So, what came out of Ferguson, the police may have been justified in defending themselves from Molotov cocktails, but I don't think they were justified in bringing out the armored vehicles with the 50 cal mounted on top, when protesters, like you said, 98% of them were just protesting peacefully.
So what's, in your opinion, the solution? Because, yes, the police do have threats. They do face various people, not just people throwing Molotov cocktails, but you do have the occasional active shooter and so forth. But we see the heavy armor, the MRAPs, the fully assault rifles that some of these guys carry. Is any of this justified in any type of situation?
Well, I would say police definitely need some military-grade equipment if they're tracking a terrorist like they were in Boston. That's a situation that comes maybe once in a lifetime where you can understand police need to take special precautions. Some of this equipment may be justified in a hostage situation, but certainly, and this is what angers most Americans, when you're just doing a routine police mission, when you're serving a warrant on a drug suspect, especially a drug suspect who's not actually a dealer, but just using drugs for his own personal recreational use. You don't need to bust in their homes at 3 a.m. in the morning with a flashbang grenade, storming down doors and causing all kinds of havoc, because what's happening is, we're having babies blown up, we're having Marines killed, we're having Americans injured, innocent Americans not even charged with any crime yet. And then oftentimes the suspect is located at a different location down the road.
That's right. And
the thing with warrants is you're supposed to serve them before you enter the home.
Right. But like you were saying, the thing they want to do is these no-knock warrants. And you reference baby Bobo, who who got his face blown off by the flashbang grenade. And you want to talk about the crimes of the police, of the parents rather, whatever they may have been doing, is it worse than blowing a toddler's face off? You know, it's this, you know, anything goes and nobody really gets held responsible. You know, in your opinion, what should happen? And let's just take that example of the flashbang grenade. Should the officers be held accountable for that?
Yeah, fired, definitely. When you do something like that, you don't have the right to wear the, uniform anymore. I understand that these are coming, from the higher ups in the department, and it's not one person acting on his or her own. It's, the team, the police officer, the police department going in together to serve these warrants. But when somebody's baby gets blown up and they spend 5 weeks in a coma, recovering from this, and then face years and years of more medical treatments, there needs to be immediate action. And like you said, the police aren't held accountable in that. The good news is a federal court just ruled that SWAT teams can, in fact, be sued if they overreach on their if they storm into a home and they wreck a home and somebody gets injured, and it turns out that the suspect wasn't even in the home.
Yes, that's a very good point, because like you said, sometimes they even go to the wrong locations. They'll spend millions of dollars of teaching these guys how to jump out of helicopters and do all this stuff, but they won't spend $2 on a road map to get them to the proper location. And while we get close to our end here, I want to ask you about coming out of Ferguson. Now the police departments, the sheriff's departments, they're starting to question, or at least on the public face, do they need all this equipment? And now people are saying that they're actually willing to give these MRAPs and other military vehicles back to the Pentagon. Do you think that this is something that's really going to happen? Is this just people talking for the sake of publicity? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, there have been some local uprisings where people have actually gone to their local boards of supervisors and their city councils, who hold the purse strings and regulatory control for their local police departments, and they've demanded, we don't want this equipment in our community any longer. And there have been a little successes with that. But I think this equipment would be better off being used on the border. Give it to the border states. Give it to Custom and Bureau Protection agents. Let maybe even local police departments down there store the equipment for Border Patrol uses. It's certainly good equipment to have, but for more militarized reasons, not to execute drug warrants and so forth on innocent Americans.
That's right. Now, Ms. Chumley, as we end, can you tell us how people can keep up with your work, and also the best part about your book? What do people need to know about Police State USA? Well,
about Police State USA, the basic premise is, we are losing our God-given rights, and in its place are coming government-granted rights. And my book, it's not conservative versus liberal. Republicans and Democrats both are angry by a lot of these issues. And they can find my book at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and WND Books. And if you want to keep up with my work, just read the Washington Times.
All right, Cheryl Chumley, thank you for your time, miss.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for this edition of the InfoWars Nightly News, but stop by prisonplanet.tv and get yourself a 15-day free trial. You can get the Alex Jones Show, the Nightly News, the special reports, the rants, and so much more at prisonplanet.tv. And be sure to join us Monday for a special Labor Day broadcast chronicling some of the most important reports that we filed this year. I'm Jakari Jackson for the InfoWars Nightly News, and we'll see you again soon.
The facts are in. The studies are legion. Sodium fluoride and other toxic members of the fluoride family are devastating the health and cognitive ability of the American people. So why are the social engineers adding it to the water? Simple. Dumb down the host population that the parasitic technocracy is feeding on. We may not have been able to get fluoride out of the water supply yet, but we can help to get it out of our bodies. I am extremely excited to announce the exclusive InfoWars Life Fluoride Shield formulation, fusing 6 of the best documented ingredients from around the world to help the body remove not just toxic fluoride residues from the body, but a whole host of toxic substances. Let's take a stand against the globalists by blocking their poisons with Fluoride Shield. I use Fluoride Shield every day. Secure your Fluoride Shield and other pioneering formulations at InfoWarsLife.com today. Let's start cleansing our bodies now and support the InfoWar at the same time. That's InfoWarsLife.com.
You are watching the INFOWARS Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at INFOWARSnews.com. Members can share their passcodes with up to 11 other people, and your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.